Hi. How does one show a keen interest in the Lord's return? For Jehovah's Witnesses, it was a matter of date setting. To say that it will happen by a certain date or in a certain time frame is date setting. You have given God a deadline. In C.S. Lewis's essay, The World's Last Night, he speaks of this danger about date setting. So we read a portion of it the last time. In this part, I'm highlighting what he says about date setters. Apparently, many people find it difficult to believe in this great event without trying to guess its date, or even without accepting as a certainty the date that any quack or hysteric offers them. To write a history of all these exploded predictions would need a book, and a sad, sordid, tragic comic book it would be. One such prediction was circulated when St. Paul wrote his second letter to the Thessalonians. Someone had told them that the day was at hand. This was apparently having the result which such predictions usually have. People were idling and playing the busybody. One of the most famous predictions was that of poor William Miller in 1843. Miller, whom I take to have been an honest fanatic, dated the second coming to the year, the day, and the very minute. A timely comet fostered the delusion. Thousands waited for the Lord at midnight on the 21st of March and went home to a late breakfast on the 22nd, followed by jeers of a drunkard. Clearly, no one wishes to say anything that will reawaken such mass hysteria. We must never speak to simple, excitable people about the day without emphatically, again and again, without emphasizing again and again the utter impossibility of prediction. We must try to show them that impossibility is an essential part of the doctrine. If you do not believe our Lord's words, why do you believe in his return at all? And if you do not believe them, must you not put away from you, utterly and forever, any hope of dating the return? His teaching on the subject quite clearly consists in 3 propositions. 1, that he will certainly return. 2, that we cannot possibly find out when. And 3, that therefore we must always be ready for him. Note the therefore. Precisely because we cannot predict the moment, we must be ready at all moments. Our Lord repeated this practical conclusion again and again, as if the promise of the return had been made for the sake of this conclusion alone. Watch, watch is the burden of his advice. I shall come like a thief. You will not, I most solemnly assure you, you will not see me coming or see me approaching. If the householder had known at what time the burglar would arrive, he would have been ready for him. If the servant had known when his absent employer would come home, he would not have been found drunk in the kitchen. But they didn't, nor will you. Therefore, you must be ready at all times. The point is surely simple enough. The schoolboy does not know what part of his Virgil lesson he will be made to translate. That is why he must be prepared to translate any passage. The sentry does not know at what time an enemy will attack, or an officer inspect his post. That is why he must keep awake all the time. The return is wholly unpredictable. There will be wars and rumors of wars and all kinds of catastrophes, as there always are. Things will be, in that sense, normal. The hour before the heavens roll up like a scroll. You cannot guess it. If you could, one chief purpose for which it was foretold would be frustrated. And God's purposes are not so easily frustrated as that. One's ears should be closed against any future William Miller in advance. The folly of listening to him at all is almost equal to the folly of believing him. He couldn't know what he pretends or thinks he knows. The doctrine of the second coming has failed, so far as we are concerned, if it does not make us realize that at every moment of every year in our lives, that's John Donne's question, what if this present were the world's last night, is equally relevant. Sometimes this question has been pressed upon our minds with the purpose of exciting fear. I do not think that is its right use. I am indeed far from agreeing with those who think all religions fear, barbarous and degrading, and demand that it should be banished from the spiritual life. Perfect love, we know, casteth out fear. But so do several other things: ignorance, alcohol, passion, presumption, and stupidity. It is very desirable that we should all advance to that perfection of love in which we shall fear no longer. But it is very undesirable, until we have reached that stage, that we should allow any inferior agent to cast out our fear. The objection to any attempt at perpetual trepidation about the second coming is, in my view, quite a different one. Namely, that it will certainly not succeed. Fear is an emotion, and it is quite impossible, even physically impossible, to maintain any emotion for very long. A perpetual excitement of hope about the second coming is impossible. For the same reason, crisis feeling of any sort is essentially transitory. Feelings come and go, and when they come, a good use can be made of them. They cannot be our regular spiritual diet. What is important is not that we should always fear or hope about the end, but that we should always remember, always take it into account. So putting a date or a time frame for the day is the very thing that causes people to misfocus onto time instead of love of the Lord. And it causes discouragement, the wearing of one down. So when witnesses are made to anticipate all the time, every day, to try and maintain that nervousness about it, the end, it wears them down, it discourages them, and it could make them falter in faith altogether. The answer is to love the Lord and be ready always, at any moment. I'm going to link to 2 videos that we've done. One lists a whole pile of dates, and then it says just how many dates did Russell and Rutherford give us. And the second one is God rejects clergy for their refusal to accept Russell's 1874 to 1878 inner chamber parousia, a video that I did.